What's $10,000 when you have to spend it all on therapy for your lifetime supply of daddy issues? This is The Night of the Hunter.
Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants go through the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
We're back on the Sight and Sound list this week, ping-ponging back and forth between the top and the bottom, although we're getting closer to the middle at this point, which means we are nearing, I mean, not soon, but soon enough, we're nearing the end of the 100 because we're still going off the 2012 list.
Well, yes, so this is the 2012, on the 2012 list. This movie's number 63, so we're already in the mids that way, but then also it doesn't really count because so many movies are tied in so many spots.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to judge, honestly.
Yeah, it can be hard. But for those asking, because we have gotten some inquiries, like when we're done with the top 100 of 2012, we're going to go to the 2022 list and fill in the gaps of the films that are on that list that are not on this one. And then once we do that, we'll expand to the 250.
Yeah.
So.
And on the 250, there'll still be overlap from the 2012 top 100.
Yeah.
So it's all about like talking about them in context. For example, this movie is number 25 on 2022. It has jumped up like 40 positions.
What was it on 2012?
63.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy. I think that might be the biggest jump we've seen so far.
Maybe.
Oh, no, actually, there's things that are like in the top 10.
There's stuff that's I think Jean Dielman was probably a huge jump.
Yeah, that's actually probably. Yeah.
And then some stuff fell really hard. Like, didn't Godfather 2 fall off the top 100 or something?
Did it really?
Or was it the first Godfather? I forget.
Godfather Part 2 is now 104 on the list.
Yeah, see? It's exactly like stuff has fallen in a big way. And
that
the
is
general too. Before we get into the film this week, just a quick note. We are recording this episode right after our Pickpocket episode aired. And it's so funny. I think it's just been a while since like, I was going to say we, but it's mostly me, has been so like hostile towards a film. And like, I forgot the backlash.
We got some backlash.
It's just like funny. It ranges from like, some people are like, you guys are like children, and then other people are like, that was a really like, I disagree, but you had like a really nuanced take. So it's like this whole spectrum of like,
you can't please everyone.
You can't. But like, look, honestly too, I mean, I try to rein it in. It is mostly me, and in all fairness, you are more like devil's advocate, and you you do keep the conversation going, whereas sometimes I'm like digging my heels in. But the funny thing about it is that when we started this show, part of our mission statement was like, no film or filmmaker is like above criticism, like because these films are on the Sight and Sound list, like because stuff is constantly being reevaluated over time, right? Because we've seen the list change. Nothing should be above criticism. So like neither of us just like bows down to a film because of its stature. And I think the whole point of the show, while sometimes, yes, I take it overboard, is like just reassessing films. Yeah, honesty and reassessing films from where we are now in our lives, where we are in 2024. And we're not always gonna agree.
In fact, I believe this episode is gonna be a wild card, if I may.
I think it will be too. Wait, on which side do you think it's gonna be a wild card?
I don't want to give anything away.
Okay. But before
you're saying neither of us bow down to something because it's so revered, let's just say I felt that.
Okay. Well, I know we've talked on the show before about, because you just saw this movie for the first time like last year, and I think you mentioned it on one of your previous What Have I Been Watching? I did. And I remember you weren't big on it.
By the way, the movie this week is The Night of the Hunter.
Yes, The Night of the Hunter. Before we get into the film, though, what have you been watching lately?
Oh my God, what haven't I been watching? I saw Iron Claw. Like I was telling you and Molly before, I am not the audience for this movie. And this is the general feeling about this movie, I think. Because I think girls are going to it and really liking it. Because it hits every emotional beat so well. It's not corny like a biopic usually is. It's really, really deeply felt and really heartbreaking. Like, I was a mess, is all I can say. In a really good way, though. Like, I felt real catharsis. I rewatched Holes recently.
I saw that on your
Oh
letterbox.
my God, this movie is so good. Do you like Holes?
Okay, it's funny. I loved the book growing up.
Yeah.
But like by the time the movie came
You
out,
were
I was
old.
kind of over it, and so I never saw the movie.
Oh my God. I was like the perfect age. And let me tell you, seeing that movie so young, I think, I'm not even kidding, like deeply influenced my taste in movies because it's gritty and it's kind of Western and they're young. Like I think he's only like 12 and the movie is pretty dark for a Disney YA movie. He goes to prison camp.
Yeah, the book was kind of dark.
The book is dark.
Yeah.
The movie like softens a little bit, but still it holds up. Like I saw it. I haven't seen it in so long. And my brother is so funny. Like the night before we watched it, he texted me saying, "What's our Disney Plus information?" And I was like, "Why? What do you want to watch?" He's like, "Holes." And I said, "I'm like, wait for me. Like I want to watch it too." And it really holds up. And all the women in it are so badass.
Sigourney, right? Sigourney.
But yeah, it's Sigourney. It's Patricia Arquette. Patricia, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Isn't John Voight in it?
John Voight is in
Yeah.
it. That other guy whose name I can't remember, who's in a bunch of Coen Brothers movies. Not a bunch, but 2. 3.
Which movies?
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Is it Tim Blake Nelson?
Yes. Tim Blake Nelson is in it. Great cast. All the female characters are like so well constructed and so interesting. Like I will sing the praises of Holes forever, but I really think it influenced me.
I should see it, yeah.
There's like a few things that are kind of outdated, like a few like slow-mos and stuff, but it's about so many things, like serious issues. Anyway, that's my take on Holes. I saw Eileen. So this is the adaptation of the Ottessa Moshfegh novel. It's directed by William Oldroyd. Actually, Moshfegh co-wrote the script. Have you seen any trailers for it? It's with Anne Hathaway and
that
Thomas
movie.
and Mackenzie.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, I have.
So I saw it, and I really liked it.
Kind of like a psychosexual.
It's a psychosexual 60s. It has such a warm 60s feel. Like even the credits and the way it's shot, really kind of dark, but also warm. And it genuinely shocked me. Like there were moments that genuinely shocked me. I wish the end was turned up like a little bit. But other than that, I actually really enjoyed it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's good. Like we don't get movies like that, you know? Yeah. Like it's strange because people keep talking about how The Holdovers is like so 70s-y. Like it feels so 70s-y. And I don't think The Holdovers in its filmmaking feels 70s to me, but this movie did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet The Holdovers. Oh, we'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it. But yeah, I don't know. I was impressed. And that's what I've been watching.
Nice.
What have you been watching?
A couple rewatches. I rewatched Terms of Endearment.
Oh, so good.
It's so good. It really is.
It is. I just, yeah.
I think too, like those films that are able to run the gamut of like when it's funny, it's really funny and light on its feet, and then when it's devastating, it's like really devastating. And I've seen it before a few times, but like, yeah, it hit hard.
That movie changed my life.
It's so good.
It really changed my life.
Is that your favorite James L. Brooks movie?
Yeah, easily.
Over like broadcast news and stuff?
I love broadcast news, but yeah, this is.
Yeah, I agree. And I grew up on As Good as It Gets.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a soft spot for that, but like I showed it to Molly recently, in the last couple of years. She's like, and she like wasn't into it.
Yeah.
I like As Good as It Gets.
But how can you not like Terms of Endearment? Like, come on.
I mean, I could see the argument that like it's saccharine or like, I don't know, but I think it's really great. I think it's kind of like big Hollywood filmmaking at its best. Like when it's kind of star-studded cast and like. The only plot point that that doesn't work for me is why Deborah Winger starts an affair with John Lithgow.
Really? I like that.
He's just weird.
He's so weird.
He's like, hey, remember me from the bank? I turned you
up.
down for a loan.
Yeah. It's funny.
I don't know. Is there anything sensual about this man in this role?
No. But it works for me. I don't know why.
So I rewatched that. I saw Dial of Destiny for the third time.
Third time?
Yeah. I did Desperate Living, which was for me the last big John Waters movie that I had not seen. I think the only two that I haven't seen at this point are Pecker and Cecil B. Demented from the 90s, but this is his last big like 70s trash movie that I had not seen. Notable because Divine is not in the movie. But yes, I actually rented it from Videotheque.
Oh, nice.
I got to check out their new location and everything. But yeah.
I haven't been. Did you see Luce? Was she there?
No, I didn't see her.
Oh.
But yeah, good movie. Good movie. And then the last one, again, I rewatched Goodfellas. Honestly, just take that disc off my shelf, because while it sits on my shelf, I watch it like every 6 months or something.
I mean, that's fine.
It's just so magnetic. I just
Yeah.
can't get enough of that movie.
We're
I don't
gonna
know
watch
how many
it pretty
times I've seen
soon,
it.
though, for the list.
We will. Yeah, I'm excited for that. And then lastly, I saw a film called Falcon Lake from last year by Charlotte Le Bon, which is this great French film. It's kind of a coming of age story, love story between these two kids that are like vacationing at this lake over like a summer. And there's a slight kind of creepy element to it because the girl has made up a story that like the lake is haunted or something. So that's like kind of like very vaguely in the background, but it's mostly this, this very tender coming of age love story, which I thought was really great.
Charlotte Le Bon?
Uh-huh.
Isn't that an actress?
Yes.
She also directed? She directs?
Yeah, she also directs.
Wow.
I think it was her first film.
I did not know that.
Actually, no, it looks like it was her first feature. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, it's good. It's absolutely worth seeing. Good movie.
I forgot to say, I rewatched Passages because I have Mubi still and I'm going to cancel it pretty soon.
Oh, I still haven't seen it.
And I don't know, I just wanted to like watch it again. It's so weird. Like we see these movies. I think it's because I'm making up my list now of my favorites from 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was accessible, I was like, let me try and like watch it again. Definitely liked it more the second time. I mean, I liked it the first time, but the second time around, I was like, wow.
Oh, cool.
So you should watch it.
I know, I need to.
I feel like you'd like it. Especially
need to.
the costumes are incredible and the set design is incredible.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Well, let's just get into the film this week.
Yeah.
From 1955, this is Charles Laughton's The Night of the Hunter.
Dream, little one, dream. Dream, my little one, dream.
The Night of the Hunter was released in 1955. It was directed by Charles Laughton, written by James Agee, based on the novel by the same name by Davis Grubb, cinematography by Stanley Cortez, and music by Walter Schumann. During the Great Depression, conman and serial killer Harry Powell poses as a preacher while marrying widows he then robs and murders. After getting arrested for stealing a car, Powell meets an inmate on death row in prison named Ben Harper. Powell tries to get it out of Harper where he hid the $10,000 he stole from a bank, but Harper takes the secret to his grave. Harper gave the money to his children, John and Pearl, to hide in Pearl's doll, and made them each swear never to tell anyone. After being released from prison, Powell travels to Harper's town on the Ohio River and seeks out his widow, Willa, and the children. Powell gets Willa to marry him and turns her into a fervent, born-again Christian. Meanwhile, he threatens the children and tries to hoax the secret out of them. When Willa catches him one day, he murders her. The children flee, floating down the river in their father's old dinghy, and eventually they land at the dwelling of Rachel Cooper, a woman who adopts and cares for unwanted children. Powell eventually finds the children, but Rachel realizes he's a charlatan and refuses to let him take them. She guards the house at night while Powell lurks outside. She eventually shoots him, and he is cornered into the barn, and he's arrested the next day. He is tried for the murder of 25 widows and is sentenced to death. Meanwhile, Rachel and the kids have a lovely Christmas, and the film comes to a close as she ruminates on the abiding nature of children. The film stars Robert Mitchum as Harry Powell, Shelley Winters as Willa Harper, and Lillian Gish as Rachel Cooper. I think we need to mention the children as well. Billy Chaplin as John, and Sally Jane Bruce as Pearl. Cinematographer Stanley Cortez, you guys might remember him from The Magnificent Ambersons. The novel that the film is based on was inspired by a real-life serial killer, Harry Powers, who was actually hanged in Moundsville, West Virginia. He married and murdered 2 widows, but actually the way he found them were through Lonely Hearts advertisements. Yeah.
It's sad.
I know. It's really sad. But he killed 2, and in the movie he killed 25.
Yeah.
I guess in the novel too, but Charles Laughton, of course, is first and foremost an actor. He had directed some theater in London and wanted to start directing films. He was given the novel by producer Paul Gregory and instantly fell in love. He considered himself for the role of Harry Powell, but was talked out of it. He wanted to pay homage to silent films in his direction. He was inspired by German Expressionism. And he actually watched nitrate prints of silent films to prepare, such as Birth of a Nation, Intolerance, The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And I didn't know this, but did you know that he was married to Elsa Lanchester?
Oh, no, I didn't.
They were married. Of course, they start together in Witness for the Prosecution. She's also from Mary Poppins. She's also the Bride of Frankenstein. And so Laughton wanted to cast his wife as Rachel Cooper, but she refused. She said, I don't think it's right. And after doing all this research on silent films, he landed on Lillian Gish.
How appropriate.
I know.
Yeah.
Excessive rewrites were required to meet the approval guidelines of the production code. It was shot mostly at a movie ranch in the valley, but the river cutaway shots and composition shots were shot by a second unit in West Virginia. The iconic shot of Willa's body in the river was shot with a dummy. Very convincing.
Was that in the valley also?
The river?
At someone's pool?
It must have been. The silhouette shot seen through the barn window of Powell riding a horse is actually a little person on a pony.
Yes, that's right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Famously, the film was neither a box office nor a critical success, and Charles Laughton never directed anything else ever again. One executive called it too arty when the film was first shown to him by the editor. Protestant and Catholic groups were against it. It was banned in Memphis, Tennessee.
Of course.
And that's what I got for specs. And it's such a shame. Well, actually, I don't want to get into it too much, but
What?
nothing. I'll say it in my initial thoughts.
Well, wait, before we started this episode, you were like, you had a prediction or something. Do you want to share with the class what that was?
My prediction was that upon this rewatch, you were going to agree with me a little bit, agree with what I said the episodes before when I first watched it last year.
Right, that it's not this all-knowing classic that everyone else seems to think it is.
That it's corny.
Oh, okay. Who wants to go first?
Well, firstly, I do want to say, though, that it's a shame that Charles Laughton never never directed anything again, because it is very clear that he has vision, and I think that he could have been really great.
Well, it should be noted, too, that Charles Laughton, if you don't know him as an actor, and he was a very prolific actor, starting in the silent era, I believe, but he was almost the Brando before Brando.
It's so hard to picture because, physically, they're so different.
Well, Brando in, from the 70s on didn't look so different from Charles Laughton, honestly. But
yeah,
Charles Laughton was not this like method actor, but he was known for these sort of larger than life characters, and that he took it very seriously and was this like true thespian.
Yeah. So Brett, he actually is I forgot to mention this, but he was a follower of Brechtian acting.
Yeah.
And that's very much like basically you make the audience aware that they're watching a play.
Right.
Like it's like making the familiar unfamiliar. Not that different from Bresson, honestly. The way that Bresson did his like movie version of it, that's kind of what Brechtian acting is, as I understand it. Because they want you to get they don't want you to get lost in the story, and they don't want it to be a conventional catharsis. Like they want it to be very obvious that you're watching a play, sometimes talking directly to the audience, doing like outlandish weird things. And then they want you to come up with your own conclusions, essentially. And the man who invented Brechtian acting, I believe his name is Bertolt Brecht. He was a Marxist, and his work was very political. So like, yeah, he didn't want it to be traditional feeling when watching a play, and that's what Brechtian acting is. And you can see, I think you can see it a lot in this movie.
You can see it in this, and a more recent example, although it's crazy now that this film's already like 20 years old, is like something like Dogville. It's like true Brechtian
exactly
theater.
like play the scene to provoke a discussion is essentially what it's. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go first? Let's hear your initial thoughts first.
This is my second time seeing this, and I have to say I felt pretty much the same after this time around. There are moments of like real beauty, like really gorgeous, but overall, I just can't get past it comes off as corny. It comes off as like campy melodrama to me more than anything else. Like that's just how I feel. I can never really take him seriously. Like I
Robert
don't know.
Mitchum?
Yeah, like I was really trying to think, I'm like, is this person scary? And I think he's scary in that he's so unpredictable, but he's not smart. Like I'll get more into it later. This time around, like when it started and it's the creepy song, I was like, oh wow, hell yeah. Like I forgot about this. But then the floating heads come and I'm like, really?
Over
like
the
it's
stars.
things like that in the stars. Yeah, it's like there's moments where I'm like, ooh, and then it's like kind of ruined by something. And I get it. I get the silent film stuff. I get that it's a cross between like a horror movie and a Mother Goose story. It's interesting. It's like much, much better than a lot of movies from that time. But I cannot get on board with like bowing down and worshiping this movie. I just can't. I think the movie has a lot to say, but I'm not really crazy about how it says it. Like, I think this is going to be a really good discussion because there are things about it I really like. Yeah, and then also my initial thought was when I was watching it, I was like, Moundsville, prison, graveyard. Where have I heard this? And there's a Phoebe Bridgers song, so I'm pretty sure Phoebe Bridgers really likes this movie. And it's thing, You Missed My Heart. Do you know that song? No. Well, there's literally a part that goes down river from the Moundsville prison graveyard. So when they were saying that, I was like, where have I heard this before?
That's cool.
Yeah, I think Phoebe Bridgers likes this movie.
I think a lot of people do.
Speaking of a lot of people who like this movie, go ahead.
Well, okay, going back, my history with this movie, when I was a kid, I think I've mentioned him before a few times on the show, but my friend Tim, who was 5 years older than me, my best friend growing up, he lived just down the street. And so he was 5 years older. So when he was seeing a lot of films kind of for the first time, he would show them to me. So I was like young. And he had older brothers too. Like he was the youngest in his family. So a lot of the classics I saw, honestly, a lot of my early cinephilia comes from him because he had this great VHS collection, or maybe it was his brother's, but this is one of the tapes they had. Mm-hmm. It's funny because he always tried to get me to watch it, and I like wasn't interested in watching it. I think because it looked pretty old, and so I didn't see it. But in high school, I took a film class, junior year of high school. Had a teacher, Mr. Guarino, who I think I've mentioned before, and he showed us this movie. So I saw this junior year of high school, and I was like, oh my God. So I loved it immediately. I think the whole class loved it, and everyone would quote it, and they would sing Leaning.
Yeah, such a good song.
So like, I've seen this over the years a handful of times, and I know when you told me like a year ago that you had just seen it and thought it was meh, I was outraged. And in fact, this film just last year got this like beautiful 4K disc from Kino. So this time I got to see it on 4K. This episode was a great excuse to pull the 4K off the shelf. It's apparent from the very beginning of the film with the talking heads and like bless the children and all that stuff. No, it's not supposed to be real life.
I understand that.
It's this big gothic dream of a movie, and it's like the Robert Mitchum character, again, talking about Brando, like Robert Mitchum also kind of had this like immediacy that I think Brando is kind of recognized as like starting, but Robert Mitchum had it before him. And of course, Robert Mitchum was this kind of Hollywood outsider. Like he was a big pothead back in the 50s and like very vocal about it. So he was kind of this bad boy outsider. And so that's why you get him in stuff like this and Cape Fear and like great noirs, like Out of the Past. So like, he's this great presence in the movie, and he has this almost like I was trying to put my finger on it when I was rewatching this last night. He's like part Elvis and part like maybe it's Brando. I don't know, but it's like he has this, and I'm not even an Elvis fan, but he just has this like something, this special something. It's the draw. It's like the look of his face.
Yeah.
But he just looks like a bad guy. Like he looks like a not
bad guy.
a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think what I like about this is everything. But no, what I like about this is just that it is such a simple story told in this really exaggerated theatrical way where obviously sets are sets but it's shadows and it's fog and it's the river and it's like critters along the river and it's like spider
I love
webs.
all that. I love all that. But the kid, I can't get past the kids. Like they are so awful. And also I think the writing is like really corny.
I mean,
We'll talk about it.
no,
but,
I
like,
get that.
Visually, I love it visually. Like
It's-
I really do.
It's not
But
like a
these damn
nuance.
kids.
I mean, I think the kids look. I get what you're saying, but like naturalism, this movie's not going for naturalism.
I know.
And I think too, because Laughton is such a great actor, like it leads me to believe that the sort of exaggerated performances, I mean, it's intentional, obviously. And like Robert Mitchum in this movie is so big.
Yeah.
So big.
I don't have a problem with him in this movie.
But like, no, I mean, I don't know. I just, he's so great in the movie. And of course, like, he's fucking weird too.
Oh my God, he's so weird. And we'll talk about it.
For like a big Hollywood movie from the 50s, like he's weird in ways that like characters weren't really weird yet.
Right.
Like the way he howls
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
leaps around and like just his mannerisms are very off.
Right.
And so, but no, the Southern Gothic vibe of this movie is just so 100% up my alley. I watched this, Molly, it turns out I thought I had showed this to Molly like years ago. I hadn't, or maybe she like fell asleep or something, but she watched it with me last night and she was also like totally in it, even like covering her eyes and like jumping and stuff.
Nice.
So it's a masterpiece. Like in a way, I agree with you on all the points you just said, but again, I don't think I can look past it. And I think it's part of the charm in the way that like David Lynch's stuff, like Twin Peaks or whatever, doesn't necessarily have quote unquote good acting. It's like all part of this heightened dream state. And so for that reason, I mean, I love this movie. I love it.
Great.
So yeah.
Here's the thing. Okay. I was trying to put my finger on like what exactly my issues were, my qualms essentially. Yeah, and it's like it's moments that are really great and then it's ruined by someone talking. Like I think that's what
like the kids.
Or even Willa. Like I think her performance is good, but I don't like the script. I don't know. The floating heads. Like I think the floating heads are ridiculous.
Oh, I like it.
I think they're freaking ridiculous.
I think it sets the stage immediately. What kind of you're being told this story?
Yes, and there's a really good article on Senses of Cinema, and it's by Adrian Dinks, and it's basically how the movie is about storytelling and how storytelling is so tied to it. This Mother Goose thing that
Yes.
we're talking about.
Reading from the
And
Bible,
I totally get it.
Biblical stories.
I totally get it. Okay, it's fine. But that's the thing, like it opens with that very creepy song and we're in the stars and I'm like, ooh, and then it's like, all right, children, the Bible is this, and I'm like, okay, like I don't know.
Wait, in what way? Just like the biblical stuff turns you off?
I mean, not, it doesn't usually, but it's just so, I think it's just like, it's like, beware the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah,
And
it's a
like,
fable.
But it's like, and then we're literally cutting to him. I really love the legs, like the discovery of the dead woman that he killed, essentially.
On the stairs.
I
to
love
the
that.
basement.
The music there, like, that's cool, okay? But then it's when Willa's talking to Icy. First of all, Icy is ridiculous. When Willa's talking to Icy and she's like, I just don't want a husband. And then it cuts to a train coming and the music's like crazy. And then it cuts back to Willa saying more like, I just don't want a husband. Again with the train. Like it was, I don't know. Like I thought that was much.
Yeah, I mean, it's big.
I get it, but
It's very
that's the
big.
thing. Like, I don't know. I usually like when people make these like, I love the shadows and I love the train. Like if these are all like silent movie things, right? If this was a silent movie and it was like that, it was like a title card, right? Like I just want a husband, and then like train with music, like I'm in. It's something about saying it. It's something about talking aloud. Like I don't know. I can't really. I love that he was inspired by silent films and I love these silent film elements, but something about it when people open their mouth, something is not working.
I wonder if you almost look at it through the lens of being like a kid's movie in a way.
Like I love the shadow. I love his shadow, his hat in the wall. I don't like Pearl pointing to it and her jaw dropping and then immediately going back to sleep. I laugh. When Pearl points and her jaw drops, I was cracking up. And that's not what I want to feel. That's not how I want to react.
Right.
I think it's because they're talking. Like if
For
this
me-
was a silent movie, oh my God.
For me,
so great.
I'm laughing every time Pearl opens her mouth just because her dialect is so ridiculous.
It
Like-
is. Oh, and then okay, let's continue. When Powell is like inside the ice cream parlor, right, and John sees him, and he picks up the doll, and the music gets all crazy. Like that's cool. But then it cuts to John, and John's his jaw drops, and he's like, he like runs inside, and his face like and then I think I realized it. It's asking kids to be silent film stars.
Right.
And that's what's not working for me, I think.
I see.
Because, like, yeah, asking kids to be silent film stars in the 50s is not working for me for some reason. When he realizes, he says something like, I'll never tell you where it is. And then he's like, oh, and he like covers his mouth.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny.
That was that moment Molly actually laughed at that moment.
So funny. And then at one point, Powell goes, it's me your mom believes. And his jaw drops again. He's like, it's like so ridiculous.
Well, I think that's the reason that I like it is because you're right. It does have this silent film, clearly very heavily inspired by silent films, has that whole aesthetic, German expressionism, everything. But you have this Mayberry acting in it in the same way that like David Lynch,
I
like
guess.
in Blue Velvet or something, right?
I mean, yeah, but Blue Velvet is more forgivable for some reason. Like this is like, I don't know. Like his face before he throws the hairbrush. He's like, you guys can't see us. This is really hard because it's like not. Oh, and then when he goes, it's under the stone in the floor, and Pearl's like, it's so funny to me. I don't know. And then the scene when Willa's in the bathroom getting ready for her wedding night, that is incredible. Like the lights turning off, her hand on the doorknob. That is so
Her finding
amazing.
the knife in his coat.
It's so amazing. But then she starts praying, help me be clean for him. Like that. And I'm out. Like I'm out. But then like before that, it was so good. Do you get what I'm trying to put my finger on what it is. And I think it is very like.
No, it's just overdone for
It's
you.
when
It's overdone.
people are talking,
Yeah.
I have an issue. The fog when she's walking away from the ice cream parlor, gorgeous. But then she's like, it's my job to fix what's betwixt them. And I'm like, come on, lady. So I don't know if it's the script or I don't know.
It's both. It's the script and it's the delivery.
I love their bedroom, like the tabernacle kind of triangle, like the construction of their bedroom is incredible.
Well, it's supposed to look like a cathedral.
Yeah,
too.
like a tower. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I love the iris closing when he's like, children. And the iris, like, that's
oh my God.
incredible.
It's so good. When they're in the basement. Yeah.
Yes, that is incredible. I love the float down the river. I'm obsessed with the float down the
Huck
river.
Finn.
Except when this illiterate 3-year-old opens her mouth and a perfect soprano belts out. Like, you see what I mean?
That's part of it. It's part of it.
Not. I
It
start
is.
dying laughing. I start cracking up. So it's like, man, I don't know.
I get it. It's not for everybody, and I get why you're turned off by those things. But it's like that. It's that heightened melodramatic feel that
Exactly.
it makes it work so much for me.
That's what I mean. Like it's melodrama camp, and it's fun for that. But I don't take it serious. I don't take it that seriously. I also don't understand like when he pops up in their house when Lillian Gish finally shoots him. I cannot comprehend that.
Like why he would do that when he knows she has a shotgun.
That, and also what is he doing? I don't understand where they saw him from. I don't understand the geography of that house.
Okay.
I don't understand where they saw him and how did he crawl on the floor and they watched him crawl on the floor until he popped up in front of the shotgun? Like, I don't understand.
He just entered from another room because she has her eye on him, right? And then
but then they see him
Pearl
enter
comes
the house.
Pearl comes in, and with her candle, then it obscures his silhouette. And then when the candle gets blown out, he's gone from the front.
That's fine. I
And
mean,
then
when
he
she
appears
actually,
through like the back door or something.
but he just pops up right in front of them.
He's not like right in front. He's like, I feel like he's like a room away.
To me, it seems like they see him and then like he pops up in front, where like he had to crawl on the floor and pop up in front of them.
Yeah, well, he has this animal like
No, but that makes no
physicality.
sense. Why wouldn't she shoot him when he's crawling on the floor?
I mean, I'm trying to
It's really.
like she sees he's in the next room,
Can I play?
and then she shoots him. She shoots him, and then he goes
pops
howling.
up in front of them.
Yeah.
How? It's just a
Then
dining
he's on the
room.
floor. He's on the floor. I don't know. But see, that's almost, and I hate to sound like I'm just doing anything to defend this movie, but that's almost like that's all like part of it. I
get it. I don't have that much of a problem with that.
It's a tale spun from the point of view of these two kids.
I know. Listen, I know. But I don't know. It's like, why didn't she just call the cops? Why didn't he bring a gun?
Because it's all part of the story. His whole thing is a knife. That's it.
I love it.
He has
And
a
I love
knife.
that. I love that. That's fine.
Like he never tries to upgrade, even though he
it's
sees
more just why didn't
that
she?
Lillian Gish has a shotgun.
exactly.
But
I
he
don't
still
mind
comes
that.
back only with a knife.
I don't mind that. It's why didn't Lillian Gish call the cops is in my head. Which is fine. It's fine.
Because it's like
I get
this-
it. Fairy tale.
Well, I mean, she does end up calling the cops, but it's like it's her duty to protect these
and
kids.
listen, yes,
you know?
we get that image because she doesn't call the cops. And I'll allow it.
I wonder if this was even more of a fairy tale, like blatantly a fairy tale, if you would buy into it more.
Yeah, but I just can't get behind like
But it's like part of it. It's part of it. I don't know.
I'm really glad Pearl didn't work after this. I'm really glad.
My God, I think she's cute. I think she's a great presence in this movie.
I don't know about that.
I love her face. I love the way she
Her
talks.
freaking ringlets. Yeah, and then like what else? Here's the thing. Like again, we talked about kind of this storytelling aspect, and then there's like the hangman, and the hangman like comes home, and then we never see him again until the end.
Hung.
Yeah, and like that's fine. Like I like that stuff, and I like this motif of children, but I don't like pithy platitudes. Like I don't like Rachel looking at the screen and saying like, "Oh, poor children," and I'm like, really? Like I get it. Like in the Depression, yes, poor children.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't know. Like it's like, okay, I guess, yeah, poor kids. Like, but I really like John getting a flashback to his father's arrest.
Yeah. When Robert
Really
Mitchum
like
is being
that.
arrested.
Yes, I love that.
It's so funny as you get older. Like I just notice every year I get more emotional, and like during
You got emotional.
I mean, I wasn't crying or anything, but like I felt myself choke up a little bit in the scene when Robert Mitchum is getting arrested and John's like, "No, don't." Like it
It's
made me want to
powerful.
cry.
No, that is powerful. But yeah, these just kind of like, it's like so morally righteous, and it's, I don't know. Okay, but let's talk about him.
I mean, in what way though?
This Rachel character is like, first of all, she's a misogynist, like
Yeah.
straight up.
It's true.
But then again, everyone is. So like his misogyny isn't even that powerful because everyone around is a misogynist. Like freaking Icy Spoon, she's horrible. She's awful. Rachel too. Women are fools. Women are fools. I'm gonna have to take care of that baby because the moonlight. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it actually. She'll be losing her mind to a tricky mouth and a full moon, and like as not, I'll be saddled with the consequences. Number one slut shamer is Rachel Cooper. She is.
Yeah. But she's understanding too. Like when
She's not, the only time she's redeemed is when she like hugs Ruby and
Yeah.
is like, oh, you know, like you were looking for love, and I guess she didn't spank her, so that's great. But also,
well, the only time she spanks John, it's because he runs away when she's trying to bathe him.
literally, like she's hitting him.
She's just the mother figure.
I understand.
In a biblical sense.
I'm being partly funny here. I'm trying to be partly funny here. And that's fine. Yes, she hugs Ruby. That's really nice. But then fucking Ruby is such a dimwit. It's
Yes.
it's really annoying when he's literally been convicted for killing 25 people. I love him. You don't understand. Like it's I can't.
I think it's like, it's truly like if you read this in a storybook, right? You almost have to frame it in that sense.
I understand. But then she's like, ain't I pretty? And I'm like, oh my God.
That was so sad to me.
It's just stupid. It's honestly kind of stupid.
She's like, what, 13, 14? Like, she's in that transition. Like, she's been a child and she's just
I understand that, but after being convicted of 25 murders and there's an angry mob trying to kill him, you guys don't understand. I love him. It's like, come on. And also that
I mean, she
mob,
doesn't put up a very big fight.
that mob is so confusing to me. What is that mob? Icy Spoon? Like, what are you doing?
They're going after him.
But what? And why are they afraid? Why are they running away? He's not being lynched. He's being put in a car and taken to jail. They don't even have access to him. Why are they like breaking down furniture like they're going to start a pyre?
I got the sense that
don't understand.
he kind of radicalized the town. It was the sense that I got too.
Icy Spoon is very radicalized.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone in the town is like so like everyone calls their wife mother. It's like,
I know people who do that.
I was gonna
Literally.
say, imagine if you called Molly mother.
I know people who do that.
Young people?
No.
There you go. I'm
It's like, look, when
glad
you
to say I
raise
don't know a
kids with
single
somebody and you're like, hey, talk to your mother, and then the kids move out or whatever, and then you just still call the person mother or father. I don't know.
and I'm fine. I'm joking about the mother thing. Like, I understand.
What about
that
what's the husband's name?
I don't know.
That guy's a fucking character.
Instead of, I mean, her name is Icy. Is his name like Candy? I don't know.
Candy Spoon.
They're so.
His name's
know.
Lick Spoon.
I think it's like Walt or something. It's
Not
really
fun.
not
That's
fun.
not fun at
But
all.
let's talk about him. Let's talk about
The
Harry
husband?
Powell.
Oh,
No,
okay.
Harry Powell. Because in my mind, on the first, I've only seen this once before. In my mind, he existed as a pure fraud. Like, he's not. For some reason, I forgot that he actually believes that he's a preacher. Like, that didn't.
Yeah. No, he
stick in my
fully.
memory.
It's not just dressing for him.
No, like he's actually a psycho. Like
Yeah.
which is cool.
Well, it's clear from the beginning when he's driving alone
he's
and talking to
talking.
God. Yeah.
And then also the perfumey things, the lacy things, and he like opens his knife in the pocket of the
The burlesque.
at the burlesque
Yeah.
show, and he's like, "Well, I can't kill them all." So like,
Yeah, because Molly, we watched it last night in the scene with Ruby when he pulls the knife. He
does exactly. I was
On
gonna
her.
say, is he on her or on himself?
No, I think he's like getting ready to, because anytime a woman expresses that much, like
yeah,
it just
and that's
sets him
really
off.
interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. But then again, everyone's a misogynist, so like, how powerful is it really? And it's interesting. Like, he's not. Is he like asexual, or he's like? He's not. See, I don't know why I remembered him more as like almost like not an incel, but like that kind of.
Oh, for sure.
But he's not an incel.
I think he's still like.
I think he just
I almost get the sense that he's like a necrophiliac or something.
could be.
Because there is this like eruption of sexuality coming from him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When he
it's
opens the
there.
knife
I don't
with-
think he's asexual.
When
at
he
all.
opens the knife with Ruby, I think I almost think he's like punishing himself, like he's gonna like hit himself or something.
Maybe.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, and then like he's preaching to the peach pickers, right?
Yes.
Like it's not just a fraud for him. Like
Yeah.
he actually believes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I just.
Love hate. We should say love hate too. The tattoo's so famous.
Yeah, love hate is iconic. Love
So
hate is
iconic.
iconic. Is he a little too funny?
No, because I think the
think
best
he's
villains kind of have
funny.
that. Like, look at Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like,
true. Yes,
He's one of the most
funny.
terrifying
And
screen
he's
villains,
funny.
and he's funny and
Yeah.
he's charismatic. And I wouldn't say that Robert Mitchum in this movie is as charismatic, but like he clearly is able to win people over very quickly.
Yeah, but like when he's crying to the spoons about she left me, and
but they're
like,
buying it.
I know, but he's just so. It's silly to me. Like that scene's silly to me.
Yeah, that's
Which
fine.
is like probably intentional, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time reconciling my like visual love with I think like the story, or like not the story, but I guess the way it's played out. Like
Right.
I don't know.
Right. That's fair. I mean,
I
it's
wish I listen. I wish I was on your boat. Like I really do.
like the drunk guy's on his boat.
But that's the thing. Like he's not smart, right? Like he wouldn't treat the kids like this if he was smart. He would be smarter about it. And also, everyone around is just extremely dumb and horrible.
I thought you were gonna say dumb and horny. I'm like, I guess.
So it's like he's not as like he doesn't deliver this like for me that I wish he did almost like. I don't know, but then I love the scene of him walking the silhouette from the barn and him singing, and anytime he's singing outside, like that's creepy, and
You know what?
I like it.
There's an element of Fritz Lang's M in this, of Peter Lorre. Whenever Peter Lorre is always whistling throughout that movie.
Yeah.
I think he's whistling like in the Hall of the Mountain King.
Yeah.
So whenever you hear that, you know that he's nearby. And
Yeah.
in this movie, it's leaning.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And that song is actually
no, it's just great. It's a great little motif.
it's so good.
No, for me, he's like the ultimate package like villain. Like
think?
he is one of the screen's in this film, one of the screen's all-time great villains, I think, because he just is the complete package. Like, I think part of the charm of him is that sometimes he seems a little slow or like not super threatening. Like when he first takes the kids down into the basement when they tell him that's underneath one of the things. He's like,
This is concrete.
This here's concrete. But like the kids like are about to take off. He's like, no. Like, but he's like, he's not on top
He's
of things.
dumb. No, he's dumb.
But I like that. That like makes it almost in a way more terrifying.
And it's like he has this whole dinner laid out. It's like, oh, we got apple crumble and we got this and this fried
Yeah,
chicken.
did he prepare all that?
No,
or did he pick it
Spoon
up?
did.
Oh,
but it's like
Spoon.
I
Yeah,
imagine
yeah.
in my mind, because they're just standing there. They don't enter the scene. They're literally just watching him eat.
Yes.
So like, what was the scene directly before that? He's laying it all on the table and they're just like standing there staring at him, or like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're not supposed to think about those things. And this
I just
one,
do though. I just do, and he's like, "Well, look here, we got fried chicken." I don't know. It's and then Pearl's like, "I'm hungry."
let's talk about the look of the movie too.
We already did.
Oh, let's go.
and I love it.
I know we're getting to favorite site in a little bit, but like, I think too, again, a film like this, the look of it is so much of the appeal because like it is this, the cinematography is a crucial element because if this
100%.
was shot in a flatter way, like it would not be the movie that it is.
Never.
And so the style in this film becomes substance too, I think. Like there are
Totally.
some films where you're just like, they get dismissed because they're so overly stylized and they're like, people are like, oh, that movie's not actually doesn't have anything to say, or it's kind of shallow. It's all style. In this
Yeah.
film, like the style is the substance.
yeah,
it
you're
really is.
You're right.
Because it's a mood. This is a mood piece.
You're right.
Honestly, there's so few films that are able to do this like Southern Gothic thing in this way. It's so clear-minded and simple, and it's like a 90-minute film. And I think that just the use of real locations and sets and the whole thing has a very, very soundstage feel to it, which is so much a part of the charm. These days, you couldn't really do this. Like a lot of the backgrounds would be like green screen and CG and stuff. But like, although we just saw Poor Things, and Poor Things is
A lot of CG,
a film that comes along. Yeah, there's CG, but like a lot of those are like real ass sets. Like I just
Yeah.
saw a thing with Emma Stone where she's talking about like the Portugal set or Lisbon. It was like it would take you 20 minutes to just walk through that
That's
whole set.
crazy.
But it's like, yeah, it's a case for artificiality in
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Because we,
Barbie too.
Exactly, Barbie. That's a better case than the one I just
100%.
made. But it's like, yeah, there's a time and place for artificiality in films, and I think this movie's the ultimate case for that. Of like,
Right.
it's not going for real life, and it's a storybook come to life. That's
And
what it is.
Another storybook element I really love, and I forgot to mention this, is when they get off the boat, when he's like, "We're sleeping on land tonight," and they go to that house.
The barn.
Yeah,
The house first with the bird.
bird that's
Yeah.
singing, and they hear the song, but it sounds like a woman. So like in that moment, I thought that was the Rachel character. Like I thought they had arrived because I'd only seen this once before, and then it wasn't. Like they imagined that song. Like that was really cool.
Well, see, that scene's interesting because it could be played either way. Like either there's a woman in there that's singing, or that song's on the soundtrack. We don't really know. You assume someone lives in there because if there's a bird in a cage, someone has to be there to feed it. So I guess the kids just didn't want to disturb her. In all fairness, when Rachel finds them later, she's the one that like herds them up and was like,
Yeah.
"You come with me," and like, so I don't know that they're looking for help from people initially. I think they're just kind of like lone wolves. And
Yeah.
But
the one
no.
lady handing them potatoes.
I love that scene. This is such a dumb. I hate to bring it around to like video games, but do you know of the game Limbo?
No.
It's a game that maybe came out a decade ago, but it's like a platformer game, and it's like it's totally the look of this. Like it's a black and white game with shadows and silhouettes and things. And I think the same company made a few other games, but like, yeah, just that kind of liminal, dreamy, black and white, shadowy.
Apparently, the studio wanted this to be in color.
Oh God, that would have been so the wrong call.
It wouldn't even be a good movie.
Honestly, maybe not. See,
It wouldn't.
because that's the thing. That's what this is hinging on. It's hinging on that fine of a line, right? It's like, okay, you make this color, suddenly this movie loses all of its steam. And that's like part of
100%.
it. It's like the glow of the lamp and the shadows, and it's like not.
And I really
supposed to be in color.
appreciate that this was his first movie, and like he sat and did research, like he watched silent films, and like apparently he was like really on set, like him and the cinematographer basically taught him like everything like before they started shooting. And I just like really appreciate that. Like,
Yeah.
again, I wish he made more movies.
I
Like I
know.
really do.
Yeah, this was a big bomb. It lost a lot of money, and I don't think it got much critical respect in its day.
No, it
Which
didn't.
is really sad because it is one of those films that's ahead of its time.
Of
Absolutely
course.
ahead of its time. And yeah, I would have. He died 7 years later,
Aww.
but he maybe had one or two other films in him as a director.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't want to because he took the hit so hard.
No, I'm saying like
Yeah.
if this had done well,
Yeah.
like there'd been probably a couple more we would have gotten, and who knows what those would have. Like if this is your jumping off point, like oh
Crazy.
my God, maybe he would have made one you would have actually liked.
I do like this
Just
movie.
kidding.
No, I do like it. I just don't worship it.
That's
and
fine.
A lot of it doesn't work for me.
That's fine. That's fine.
But
I'm always-
overall, like I recognize and I do like it.
for me, my biggest motto, and we talk about this all the time, like films that can only be films. Like that's cinema, right? Like a film should be designed to just be a film and to be as cinematic as possible, because otherwise it could be a book, it could be this, it could be that, it could be a
Right.
painting. And I think the thing about this, I'm so big on mood. And I think as a filmmaker myself, like that's the first thing I start with is like a mood. And I'm interested in building an atmosphere as a filmmaker and sustaining something like that. So for me to have a mood that's this rich and thick, like chocolate syrup, that would be at Spoons' ice cream
The
parlor.
fudge she's making in the beginning.
Exactly. Like that's the atmosphere that this movie's dripping with. And it's that Southern Gothic. And it's just like, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven when I'm watching
That's
this movie.
really great.
And that's like, it's mood above everything else. But I think, again, I do think that, not to say that I'm just ignoring any shortcomings. I think the shortcomings you're talking about are absolutely like subjective. And I think are mostly intentional, and to give this heightened melodramatic. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't thinking of camp. I don't even know if camp was an expression that they used back then, but like, and I don't think it's quite camp. I would say melodramatic, but camp is something different. Like, I don't know if it's quite camp.
Oh, I mean, to each his own.
Todd Haynes would disagree. Because he just said May December is not camp, or he's like, I wasn't thinking of camp at all. I was like, oh, I got big camp vibes from that.
Well, I got big camp vibes from this.
Interesting. Well, I think so much of it, I think you can trace Mitchum's performance to stuff like Heath Ledger and The Dark Knight, and stuff like that, because like the unpredictability here.
Exactly.
One of my favorite moments in this movie. I mean, it's going to be so hard to do sight later because there's just incredible image after incredible image. Him on the stairs of the basement chasing after the kids with his two arms outstretched. But the scene where the kids first get away on the boat and he is in the water and he just starts fucking screaming.
It's crazy.
Like, it's weird tics like that.
Is that your favorite?
It's not my favorite sound.
Is that what I... never mind.
You're like, is it mine? I don't know. But yeah, I just... it's a simple film. It's a simple film, and it's not that it's incredibly deep. Like, I don't think that it's like you said earlier, it's about spinning a yarn. This is called Yarn Spinning, the film. It's about sitting down and spinning a tale. Like, that's what
Yeah.
the film's about. And so, like, on that front, I think flying colors. It's a great film. It's funny too, because I hadn't seen this in maybe 5 years, and I remember the last time I saw it liking it, but thinking like, oh, maybe it's like not this 10 out of 10, 5 out of whatever masterpiece. But then watching it again last night, I was like, oh no. Like, in fact, my viewing of it last night was the best viewing I've ever had of it.
I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy.
Should we do sight and sound?
Yeah.
Why don't you go first?
The site has to be Willa's body.
Oh, same.
Come on.
Same.
Like, it's incredible.
I have not talked about that scene until now because I was saving it for now.
It's really, really incredible.
Yeah. Her under the lake.
Her under the lake,
In the car. The branch, there's like the roots from a tree.
What's crazy is that Birdie, when he looks down, she's like right there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even deep.
No, it's not deep
so,
at all. I think that scene has haunted me since I first saw this when I was like 16 years old.
It's crazy.
And I think it is truly one of the most haunting and most memorable images in all of cinema. I will honestly say that right now. It's just so fucking eerie.
Yeah.
Because you know he's done something with her. We've seen the last scene with Shelley Winters. He pulls the knife above her head when she's laying in bed. And she's like praying. And then we hear the car starting from like the kid's point of view. We know something's happened, and the way he's immediately covering up, like, oh, she left. We know he's killed her. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so shocking when we get that reveal, and the way that the camera lingers on it for a while.
And the hair.
So
that's a good dummy for 1955. Like, that is like really good.
Yeah. No, it looks like her. It looks like a waterlogged Shelley Winters.
Sure.
And the way that the guy talks about how she had an extra mouth in her throat, it's really fucking, it gets very dark. I mean, obviously, we see from the beginning that he's killing women with like, but to see this in that detail and then hear people talk about that afterwards, I'll just say too about that scene, I have this fear called submechanophobia. Did I tell you about that? Do you know what that is?
No.
It's the fear of man-made things that are submerged in water.
Oh, yeah. You have these weird... Yeah. You also have, like, things that aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that one's called. But this ticks a few boxes for me. Like, I don't like things that are underwater that, like, shouldn't be there. So it adds even this other layer of,
so, like Titanic? Like, you get really weirded out?
Yeah. It does. Funnily enough, it doesn't trigger during Titanic. I don't know. But like it triggered when I went to the Queen Mary. You've been, right?
I don't think so.
You should go. It's really cool. Because the Queen Mary was built by the same company that built the Titanic.
These are all things that like my dad has been saying for years that we should go to as a family.
You should go.
Then,
it's
Greg
so
brings them up and it's like...
I'm just a dad. I like doing dad things. No, but it's like it's really cool. But there's a section where you see the propeller. And you kind of go into this like outside room because it's like dark, and you look down into the ocean and you see this huge propeller and it's lit by like these blue lights. And the first time I went there and I saw that, like it really triggered something deep inside of me, like this true terror. And then I joined the submechanophobia subreddit, and then that image gets posted all the time, like people going to the Queen Mary and like taking that picture, and then it gets all these upvotes. I was like, oh, it just made me feel validated because like that really terrified me. But anyway, yes, that image of Shelley Winters underwater in the car, her hair is floating above her, and it's just like, and the tree branches, it's just the roots, it all adds to it.
It's crazy.
And almost the most terrifying shot is the one from his boat. What's the guy's name? The drunk?
Uncle Birdie.
Who turns out to be the most useless fuck around.
God, literally.
But his POV when he looks down and sees
it's
her through
right
the water.
there.
Yeah, that's like really, really terrifying.
Yeah. But how did he not see her before?
Before?
Like, he's been sitting there, and then once the rod gets stuck, he's like, whoa.
Because he's not, again, it's part of the fairy tale nature, but like he's
I
know. Looking at the guy's like,
I'm messing with you.
He's nursing a major hangover.
I'm messing.
Like literally blackout drunk the night before.
Also, the picture he has, the frame of his wife sitting there, like she's so beautiful. Like he's really out of her league.
Yeah, but she's been dead at this point for 25 years. Imagine what he looked like 25 years ago before he was hitting the bottle.
But like usually you see like, it's so funny. I think it was like in Downton Abbey. It's like Carson the butler's talking about his first love, and he's like, she was so beautiful. And then it's like this really typical like 1800s portrait of someone like not beautiful. This woman's beautiful.
The meanest thing I've ever seen. Poor Mr. Carson.
But just like the most typical like serious like 1800s woman, and it's like, oh, she's beautiful.
Well, because that's the way that people took portraits.
I understand, but I just appreciate that in this, the picture of the woman, she's actually really beautiful.
Right.
I sound really mean right now. I don't have it out for this movie. I actually really like this movie.
Like, how many stars on Letterboxd?
I don't
like
do
it?
stars.
But
I
if you
don't do
if you
stars
did do
anymore.
it for this movie, what would you do?
Probably 3.5.
Okay, I get a sense. What's your favorite sound?
Okay. My favorite sound is gotta be when he is looking for the children. And he says this.
Children. Children.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really classic. Again, there's this character. He's just, again, he's not like real, right? Like, he's a storybook villain.
Oh, yeah.
That's the appeal. And so those really affected things that he says are like,
yeah, then yeah.
well, it's funny. My favorite sound, there's a lot in here. I almost picked a Pearl line because
Pick a
her
few.
speech is so funny.
No, I feel like we should include a few. Like the sounds in this movie
I'm
are.
gonna be deliberate because if I start picking a few, it would open the Pandora's box and I would pick way too many. So I'm just gonna stick with this one. And I love the music in the film too, especially that kind of like the theme of the children and stuff. But I love Lillian Gish's line near the end where she says this.
It's a hard world for little things.
Yeah, literally after an owl has just eaten a rabbit.
Yeah.
But it's like so.
But that's like,
It's funny. It's funny.
this
Like,
is the
when
Great
I see that
Depression.
bunny, I'm like, no, and then an owl freaking comes. It's really funny. You know, okay, the kid that like Ruby's boyfriend, I guess, doesn't he look just like Pepe from the shop around the corner?
I don't remember what Pepe looks like.
You don't remember? Maybe it's because I just watched it for Christmas.
I haven't seen it in a few years.
Like I really thought it was Pepe, but it's not.
Oh.
Oh, and then I also think it's hilarious that at the end, that's a great sound, by the way. I feel like I totally went off.
Do you think it's a great sound?
No, I don't. That's actually one of the things I'm like, okay, really? Of all this, of the wailing, we didn't play his like wailing, screaming. Should we play it?
Okay, play it.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And also like there's one point where Birdie is talking and I have no freaking clue what this man is saying. Like no idea.
Well, that's the point. Well, that brings us to Pauline.
Wait, no,
Oh.
I have one more thing to say.
What do you
Don't you
have?
think it's hilarious that this kid has $10,000 and yet he doesn't remember to give Rachel, this woman who literally saved his life, a gift and gives her one of her own apples?
I don't even think she would accept the money. Wait, okay. Let's talk about that apple scene for a second because I think that scene is really touching.
I don't. I think it's literally a little boy who forgot to get a gift. All of these orphans got her a gift. You literally just forgot to
Yeah.
give her a gift and gave her one of her own apples.
Yeah, but he put thought into the presentation and he clotheslines
No,
the
this is a boy thing.
doily
literally,
around it.
it's literally just a boy thing. It's a little boy. It's
But it's
boys
like-
that forget and are not thoughtful.
Think about all the trauma he's just been through.
I'll allow it because of the trauma he's been through, but
Like he has been
I'm
forced
not
to
touched
grow
by
up
that.
super fast. I was strangely touched this time.
she has to pretend like she likes it. This
It's
is the
nice.
most important of all. It's like, no, these other orphans that went and
says-
thought and bought you a gift, that's more thoughtful.
She says
Sorry.
most important for the body. And is she
Well,
wrong?
you know what? The soul is more important.
Is the woman wrong
soul is more important.
than the body? Well, I don't know about that because if the body doesn't, the body needs to outlast. But her getting him the watch is like also almost made me cry.
That's so nice of her. That's
I know.
so nice of her.
Yeah. It's funny. We've done a Lillian Gish movie before, wasn't she in Intolerance?
She's an Intolerance.
Yeah.
She's the cradle of civilization, cradle of life,
Yeah, something
mother,
like that.
cradle life,
Mother
purser.
to all. And guess what? In this movie, again, Mother to all.
Yeah, I guess.
They should just call Night of the Hunter Mother Goose.
Yeah, they should.
Just kidding.
Mother Hunter.
Mother Hunter.
And it's true. He's
That's
a
the
mother
sequel.
hunter.
That's the sequel.
Oh my goodness.
They should make it now. Just put like Ariana Grande in it or something.
They are remaking this movie.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Who?
It was reported that Universal Pictures is working on a remake of the film set in present day.
Well, hopefully that just gets stuck in development hell because that sounds dreadful.
Yeah.
This is the kind of film that like you don't remake. You just don't.
No, but I mean, there's a novel. Like, I guess it's
I don't
just
fucking
like.
care. Pauline Kael. Should we do that segment? Remember this?
Remind me.
Okay. So this is just a short snippet. Again, 55. She seems to be reviewing this from a future date. So it's not like a full review. It's just a few sentences. But this is what she says. Despite its peculiar overtones of humor, this is one of the most frightening movies ever made, and truly frightening movies become classics of a kind. Robert Mitchum is the murderous, sex-obsessed, hymn-singing soul-saver with hypnotic powers, and his terrified new wife, Shelley Winters, who has a boy and a little girl from an earlier marriage, becomes his fervent disciple.
Hey, I said fervent too in my description.
You did. He is something of a Pied Piper in reverse. Adults trust him, children try to escape. The two kids' flight from the madman is a mysterious, dreamlike episode, a deliberately artistic suspense fantasy, broken by the appearance of a Christian variety of fairy godmother, Lillian Gish. The adaptation of Davis Grubb's novel was James Agee's, I think it's Agee's, last film work, and this shadowy horror fable was the first and only movie directed by Charles Laughton. It was a total financial disaster, and he never got to direct again.
That's more of just a synopsis.
Well, she says it's one of the most frightening movies ever made.
Yeah, and the arty float down the river. Yeah, it's great.
But it really, again, she could have been reviewing this from like 1960, and like Psycho was just about to come out, and like a bunch of Exorcist and terrifying shit. But like, in a way, like, I mean, imagine seeing this in 1955, because I'm thinking of like American horror films before this, and they all kind of had like, I mean, you think about the Universal monster movies like 20 years earlier, and those are good. I love those, but like, they're very much like people get their comeuppance. I mean, in Frankenstein, the Frankenstein's monster does kill a little girl, but it's accidentally.
Yeah.
In this film, 20 years later, you have this insane God-worshipping man who's actively trying to kill these two children.
And the church was against it. Yeah.
So like, you can see the progression of where we were just about to be a few years later with stuff like Psycho. And so I think this kind of sets the stage for all of that stuff. And in some weird way, I don't know, we have actually Psycho's coming up very, very soon. I might like this more than Psycho. I'm not quite sure. Psycho is not my favorite Hitchcock movie. I think it's great, but it's not like the one I think about all the time or anything.
Me neither. Also, we forgot to mention in Do the Right Thing, the famous homage to the love-hate.
Yes. Well, there's lots. So in Do the Right Thing, you have it because he's wearing like the gold knuckle, love and hate. And then in even like Rocky Horror, Meatloaf has love and hate on his knuckles too. And it's been referenced many, 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 many times throughout cinema and TV and literature and just art in general. It's probably the most famous single thing to come from this movie is the love and hate.
Definitely.
Letterboxd?
Sure.
Someone gave it half a star and just said, I was uncomfortable and angry for most of this movie. Very, very dramatic and literally black and white telling of good versus evil. I think those are exactly the reasons I like it. It is supposed to make you uncomfortable and angry. And yes, it is a very literal good versus evil. That's absolutely the film. It is a fable.
Sure. Here's a 3-star review that I kind of like. There are broad bursts of comedy and a nursery rhyme vibe that mixes it up with religious fundamentalism, rampant greed, cold-blooded murder, and capital punishment. It all amounts to an abundance of excess. Subtle it ain't. And consequently, I found its elements didn't settle into one particular thing. Unlike most reviewers, I couldn't take Robert Mitchum's character seriously. He seems like the big bad wolf, too full of bravado and stupidity to succeed, and the kids were far too cute and all-American to ever be in mortal danger. It's possible my dissatisfaction stems from thinking it would be a different film, and perhaps I'd like it more with the correct expectations. But for a first watch, I was able to get a great deal of enjoyment out of its look. The gothic shadows are very well done, and visually the whole thing's a treat with that underwater scene, a real standout.
Yeah.
I feel I kind of agree with this person.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, I don't think it all lands coherent. Like, I get the intention. Do I like it? No. I mean, like, I do sometimes. I don't know. Anyway.
Here's a great review. It's a full 5 stars. It just says, remember those bedtime stories you were told as a kid that used to scare you because of the images they left behind in your dreams? Every time I watch Night of the Hunter, I'm reminded of what those stories used to leave in my head, as Charles Laughton's visual style, often reminiscent of the German expressionist films, helps heighten how frightening this tale is. You already feel something hiding from the shadows, but Laughton never makes a direct reveal just immediately, creating a perfect piece of gothic fiction infused with the style of a film noir. It goes on a little further, but I thought that was really beautiful. Yes. They finish saying this. It's a shame that Charles Laughton has only directed one film because he has the sort of talent that would have brought out numerous classics.
I agree.
The Night of the Hunter just happens to already be one in its own right. But in 1955, it's easy to say they weren't ready for a film like this. It's forever leaning on the everlasting arms. That almost was my favorite sound too, just him singing leaning. Like, oh my God, the way that you're able to conjure this mood with him just like off in the distance singing this song.
It's really
like,
good.
oh my God.
That song is also like kind of the main theme in the Coens' True Grit.
Oh, that's
The
right.
music in that is so good, and like that, so the lean-in like him is like very prominent in it.
You know, it's been a while. I like that movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. I'll need to rewatch.
I have made it no secret that I freaking love that
You do.
movie.
That's like your
I
favorite
think-
Western, right?
No, I mean, no. It's like up there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I have 4 stars that says, "Why do all the men in this movie look like Bill Murray?" Which they don't.
They
do
don't. No, I don't see
Do you
that.
think he does? I mean, maybe he does like a little bit.
No. That's just someone.
No?
That's just someone who's never seen Robert Mitchum before, and they're desperately trying to apply their modern sensibilities
Okay,
to.
why do you have to be rude?
Because it doesn't look like Bill Murray.
I feel like Walt does.
Walt?
Walt Spoon.
Oh yeah. No, Bill Murray. Someone gave it 3.5 stars and said, some of the dialogue delivery is kind of cheesy, but the cinematography and set design is some of the most beautiful I've ever seen. It's like 2 different movies. Yeah, and that seems to be the one undisputed fact about this film is that it is one of the most beautiful, evocative looking films ever made.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
everyone can kind of agree on that. And then it's up to people whether the rest of the movie works for them or not.
I agree. Another 3.5 stars. Right off the bat, Night of the Hunter may be one of the best looking films I've ever seen, both black and white and color. Cinematography, mise-en-scène are both flawless. The framing, the lighting, the use of shadows are nothing short of jaw-dropping. Goes on. That being said, the acting for the most part was distractingly bad, even for an older movie. As soon as all the technical stuff would draw me in, just as soon some flubbed or unenthusiastic / over-enthusiastic delivery of a line would draw me out of it. I didn't think the script itself was that great either, but I still felt like it was being underserved, which isn't really a good thing. That I totally agree. It's like it draws me in, exactly, like draws me in and then like something takes me out.
So it's funny. I think the juxtaposition of this dreamy, moody art film with this kind of aw shucks stuff
Yes.
is the reason. So I'll mention a movie that does the reverse. Have you seen One-Eyed Jacks, the Marlon Brando movie? So it's the only movie he ever directed. It's a Western. He's in it with Carl Malden. And the movie kind of has this like almost aw shucks feel to it, but then all of the acting is like really natural and modern. So it has this weird disconnect between what the movie feels like and what the actors are doing. And I think that's where the movie's magic is. And I think the same can be said for Night of the Hunter, of like, it's this expressionist fairy tale that's ultra moody and stuff. And then you have this like Mayberry like acting sometimes like, oh shucks, and like larger than life things. I just like that juxtaposition.
But I think that the form is very outlandish as well. Like it's not like
I guess it alternates,
it's like
right?
subtly shot and then really crazy acting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're both kind of out of this world.
Yeah.
But then see that, then why do I have a problem with it?
Why do you? Jackie, is there any chance in these last couple minutes that I could flip you on this movie?
I think I like it more after talking it out, but I still think it's just like, it's the kids. I think it's the kids. It's the way they talk. It's the way, and it's again these like really like generic, really righteous morality. Like, I don't know. I know. I like it. I'll revisit. I definitely will. But overall, I don't think this should be number 25 on the Sight and Sound list.
I like the sound of that. Yeah, I think it should.
Well, again, happy for you.
I'm so glad that this rose through the ranks. Because
it moved up so much. It's probably because all these not young, but like everyone is seeing Do the Right Thing, right? And then they're all saying like, what's that from? And they're all going and seeing that.
Yeah, sure.
Do the Right Thing is like so old, but like
I know it's like 30 something years old.
No, but like it's present, and that scene, especially from Do the Right Thing, is always people are always posting that.
I think this film has retained its place in film culture. Like it's not forgotten, and people. I think in the same way that people are drawn to films with these like maniacal characters, like which is why people love Joker stuff so much, because it's this kind of unhinged like lunacy. And villainy, but it's like, so people like these weirdo fuck villains, and that's what he is, and he's like kind of like the proto version of that. Not the original, like of course you have Peter Lorre or something from M like 20 years before this, but I think it holds up to a modern eye because of the way it's shot and because of the Mitchum character being so batshit crazy. Yeah, and it's also just like, again, I hate to use this term, but like a film bro movie, it's like in a way, because it's like the way it's shot. It's a beautiful film with a psycho character in it. Yeah. And film bros are drawn to that kind of thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
But this one's great. Yeah. I love it.
Good.
Well, what are we doing next week? Next week we are, it's a s'mores episode. So if you're not subscribed on Patreon to Camp Seen and Heard, what are you waiting for? We're doing... as of recording, the poll's about to close, but it looks like it's about to be Jack Hill's Coffee with Pam Grier. It was up against Roger Vadim's Barbarella with Jane Fonda, and it seems, as of now, Coffee is winning. So it looks like it's going to be Coffee next week. So yeah, again, s'mores, we have a good time.
Yeah. We
go off the list and we do shit that, genre stuff, exploitation stuff, camp. I guess this movie should have been a s'mores, huh? But yeah, so that's what we'll be doing next week. And then we're coming back in February with a great run of movies. Like we're doing Psycho, we're doing Sunset Boulevard. But most importantly, we're coming back with our episode next month of our favorite films of 2023, which we've been working on. And I know we originally said we were going to do it in January, but we both needed more time to catch up with films, to see and hear. So a lot to look forward to end of this month and all through next month.
Can't wait.
Well, that's going to do it for this week. Until next time, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
One dream, my little one dream.
Special thanks to the patrons at our highest tier, John Pennington and Cynthia Fordwell. Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line, you can find us on email at hello@seenandheardpod.com or on Instagram @seenandheardpod.